I always did love a good detective story. You know, in Star Trek Generation, they would use this thing called the holodeck to emulate scenes in detective movies where they could role play out their detective fantasies. And I thought it was really, really cool. In fact, I like the detective genre so much. A long time ago, I used to play a Nintendo game called Deja Vu. That was a detective mystery. And the music from there got me thinking about using some in my videos. And the intro music that you hear all the time in these videos is actually called Cool Vibes, and it's a detective themed song from Kevin MacLeod. So really, really cool. If you want to check that out, the link's in the description. At any rate, today's a detective horror story. Lazy Masquerade is narrated, but it's by MJV Animations. We're going to react to it today. Make sure to head on over to his channel and subscribe, guys. Hit the notification bell. If you like reaction videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. Let's get into this detective story.
The Solano case happened all the way back in 2006.
Okay.
Uncle Carlos had been working as a freelance investigator for a good long while by that point, and had built up a reputation for himself.
Freelance investigator.
Word of mouth led a new client to his office.
Crazy profession,
a woman
man.
called Maria Solano.
You never really
Expecting this to be another cheating husband type gig, my uncle sat her down and asked her to tell him the nature of the case.
Oh, a cheating husband type deal.
What she said couldn't have been further from what he expected.
Okay.
Mrs. Solano's son had gotten involved with a gang of thugs in the area. Ooh. It worried her and her husband, because their son wasn't anything like these guys.
That's not good.
He was a smart kid, did well at school, and was hoping to go to university. They were far from a bad family.
How did he get involved?
For whatever reason, he had started going to the gang's clubhouse every night.
Money?
Soon, that became every day and night.
Mm-hmm.
It got to the point where the Solanos hadn't seen their son for 3 days straight.
Wow.
Fearing for their son's safety, Mrs. Solano's husband went to confront the gang on their own turf.
Oh, man, that's scary, dude.
Mrs. Solano sat for hours at home,
waiting
can be
for
her
very
husband
violent.
to return. He never did.
Oh my God, did they kill him?
The police did little to help her.
What?
They seemed unwilling to do much at all. Every time they made a half-assed effort to find the woman's husband and son, they'd come up with nothing.
Really?
This confused and infuriated her. It was obvious who was behind both of their disappearances.
Obviously.
The gang of thugs.
Right.
Were the police unable to do their job, or just unwilling? She continued to hound the cops, demanding that they investigate.
Didn't help, huh?
Some time passed, and Mrs. Solano received a phone call. It wasn't from the cops, though.
Uh-oh.
On the other end of the line, a deep male voice told her to stay out of the gang's business.
Wow.
To stop searching for her missing family members. Said that if she valued her life, she had cut her losses and move on.
Oh.
According to Mrs. Solano, the voice sounded a strange mixture of threatening and concerned.
Concerned?
It also sounded vaguely familiar to her. She couldn't quite place who it was exactly, but she felt as if it was someone she had talked to before.
Maybe a family member?
Someone who worked in a local store, perhaps.
Oh!
She decided
so it's somebody
not to
she
heed
knows.
the caller's advice. Since the police refused to be of help,
that's why you got the
doing
PI.
her own detective work.
Right.
She went sniffing around the gang's headquarters. Unfortunately for her, this didn't go unnoticed.
No, I guess not.
That very same afternoon, she received a letter while she was home alone.
Finger?
Inside it was a severed human ear.
Oh, an ear.
A note attached read,
That's so
"We told you
cliche,
to
but
stay
still
away."
so terrible.
Out of desperation, Mrs. Solano came to my uncle for help.
Yeah.
The only things she could give him to help were pictures of her missing loved ones and directions to the gang's hideout.
I mean, if it was so obvious where their hideout was at,
the job.
I don't see how the police couldn't get
The first
involved.
thing he did was call up some of his old buddies in the force and ask them what they had found out. The cops gave him nothing and warned him to drop the case for his own sake. Jesus.
They were on the
What was going
payroll.
on?
Gang
Not
got in
having
their
anything
pockets.
else to go on, Uncle Carlos decided to drive to the gang's hideout at night and do some sleuthing of his own.
Okay.
He followed Solano's directions. Turns out, this place was remote. Real remote.
Okay.
A medium-sized shack out in the middle of nowhere, completely secluded. Getting close to it wouldn't be an option.
No.
It'd be too obvious.
Yeah.
Instead, he parked up on a vantage point overlooking the shack and used a pair of binoculars to keep an eye on things.
All right. No sound,
It was
though.
a particularly
Just
dark
visual.
night, so as long as he kept his lights off, he was effectively invisible.
You got night vision, buddy?
Now, usually, surveillance work is long and boring.
Yeah.
But knowing what was at stake with this case, my uncle was fully engaged and focused.
Right.
Over the course of several hours, he saw numerous gang members entering the shack.
Sure.
In spite of that, there was no sign of Mr. Solano or the son.
Okay.
As the night went on,
Can you
things
imagine,
became
man?
extremely disturbing.
Having your family
In
abducted
the
like that?
early AM, about 15 or so gang members exited the shack, all of them naked and covered in white paint.
Are they a
They
cult?
had built a large fire outside, which they were now circling. Then
Oh.
they stood there, contorting their body into strange, unnatural shapes.
What?
One of them led a dog out to the fire from the shack and proceeded to slit the poor creature's throat.
Sacrificing. Oh my
As
god.
it died,
They
they
satanic.
were all screaming, chanting, making inhuman sounds. All of this was so
is
loud
not cool,
that my
dude.
uncle could hear them clearly from his vantage point. This wasn't a gang. It was a cult.
Yeah.
This was some fucking weird sacrifice. These guys were nut jobs.
Yeah.
A bunch of fanatical freaks living out in the sticks, most likely off their heads on drugs.
That's scarier than
Why on earth
gangs.
were the cops ignoring
Less
these guys?
predictable, you know?
Fearing his cover might get blown, and honestly, really freaked out by what he had just
Ah,
witnessed.
yes.
My uncle made a quick getaway.
That'll make you want a stiff drink after a day of
The
work,
more
huh?
he looked into the group, the more he realized their cultish tendencies. It became obvious to my uncle that the police were either terrified of these guys, or were in their pockets.
Uh-huh.
Potentially,
That's what
a
I
few
think.
of them could have even
Pockets.
been members. He
Yep.
doesn't know.
They may have infiltrated.
The reason he doesn't know is because he was forced to drop the case.
Huh.
You see, Mrs. Solano went missing.
Oh my god.
Just like before, the police did little to look for her.
Wow.
To this day, nobody has found a body or anything. No information about her or her family's disappearance exists
Can you
online.
imagine?
Nothing. It's like they never existed. For whatever reason, the Solanos became ghosts. After the woman's sudden disappearance, Uncle Carlos himself started receiving threatening calls, telling him to stay out of the group's business.
Oh.
His cover had somehow been blown.
Right.
They said
The
that if he
cops.
continued his investigation, then he'd end up like the others.
The cops were
and
in
his
on
wife
it, y'all.
and daughters
Had to
would
be.
sold into sex slavery.
Sex slavery.
Since my uncle had nothing left to gain and everything to lose, he did what they wanted
Yep.
and dropped the case.
Dude.
They had already proven themselves to be people of their words after all.
Yeah.
It's bothered him ever since, but there really wasn't much else he could do.
It's just an unsolved
His
mystery, man.
clients were most likely dead.
Yeah.
The cops were either bribed, scared, or in on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was all totally
It
messed
could
up.
have well been the police because she's
As
Mr.
for the
Miss
family's
Solano
son,
recognized
Well,
it.
either
The
he's
voice.
dead too, or was brainwashed by the group, and is still a member.
He could have been a member.
Whatever the case, there was nothing Uncle Carlos could do about it. The risk of trying to expose the group was just too high.
Right.
In the end, real life isn't like those detective shows and movies.
No, it's
The
not.
bad guys don't always get caught,
No.
and life just goes on.
Is she
It makes
hanging?
me wonder how many other
Oh, she's
disappearances
headless!
those bastards have been responsible
Oh,
for.
they holding her head. Cool. I wasn't ready, y'all.
I don't know
That
if
was
you've heard
creepy.
of Missing 411. It's a series of books about people who have disappeared in the wilds of North America.
I've never heard of it.
Not typical missing person cases, though.
Okay.
Obviously, people go missing for all sorts of reasons.
Sure.
They get lost, maybe even attacked by an animal.
Bear attacks.
Heck, a lot of the time, they want to go
It's
missing.
a cute bear, man. Makes you want to
No.
pet it.
These books deal with the unusual cases.
Ah,
the ones
like the
that
X-Files.
nobody can seem to explain.
Okay. I like it.
The only reason I bring them up is because I'm a private investigator.
Okay.
I found out about these books after working on one particularly strange
It's like
case.
the style, the trench coats, the hats,
I'm certain that something strange is going on, and that people are trying to cover it up.
The Sherlock series was awesome too, if you've ever watched it.
I had been hired by a family to look into the disappearance of their son.
Okay.
A young man we'll call Chad for the sake of anonymity.
Cool.
Chad had gone missing in Yosemite National Park a year prior.
In the park.
The police got nowhere with the case,
How old
and
was
the park
Chad?
rangers were being decidedly uncooperative. I'd worked on missing person cases before,
Uncooperative.
and was confident that I could at minimum find some leads.
Why couldn't you...
We agreed on a price,
understand the
and they
participation
told me
level of
everything they
these
could about the
organizations, man.
moments leading up to their son's disappearance. On the day in question, Chad had gone out hiking with his friend. Now, these boys were outdoorsmen.
They were.
Went camping all the time.
Right. So they were
Hiked
young
all
adults.
over America. We're used to spending time in the great outdoors.
Yeah.
What
Survivalists.
I'm trying to get at here is that these guys knew what they were doing.
Sure.
When the boys didn't come home that day, a search team was sent out to
None
look
of
for
them?
All that was found of them were their boots.
So they did find...
2 pairs of empty boots,
Wow.
standing ominously in a clearing.
Just gone.
Their owners nowhere to be found.
Why would just the boots
No
be left
bodies,
behind?
no blood, no footprints. Police
That's
dogs couldn't pick up
bizarre.
any scent. Apparently, the animals got confused and started walking in circles.
Okay.
Now, these types of cases are usually pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Most likely, they would have succumbed to some sort of injury.
Abduction or
accidentally
murder.
fell
or
from a great
accident.
height or something.
Right.
But the whole area had been searched thoroughly. There was no trace of them.
How weird. Like they just
Their
vanished.
excrement in the area had been collected and analyzed. Nothing.
Except for the boots, of course.
Like Chad's parents had warned me, the park rangers were of little to no help at all when
Sure.
I tried to talk to them. They were evasive, hostile. even.
Evasive and hostile.
That was odd. I dealt with the Yosemite
They were
Rangers
in on it,
before,
maybe?
and they'd always been happy to assist me. There was a
Or was it
strange lack
something
of evidence
supernatural?
for a case that had been open for so long.
An SCP
It
maybe.
honestly
no?
left me stumped and unsure of how to approach things. That's when I came across the missing 411 books.
Okay.
The author of these books has researched over 2,000 missing person cases that all share similar, mysterious characteristics.
Wow.
They all seem to happen in clusters around national parks.
Mm.
The few who are found alive tend to have memory loss, and those whose bodies are found died in indeterminable ways. The
Like
majority remain missing.
indeterminable.
When they are found,
Just
however,
spontaneous
it tends
death.
to be in places that are seemingly impossible to get to by foot, or in places that had previously been explored thoroughly. In one such case, the body of a young boy was found laying perfectly out on a tree stump, many days after he had first disappeared, in an area which had been searched many, many times.
Weird.
Many of these people
Almost like he was
vanish in the
delivered there.
presence of family and friends. One
Vanished
moment,
in the
they're right
presence?
there. The next, they're gone.
That's crazy.
Much like with Chad and his friend, the police dogs in these cases never seem to be able to track a scent.
Like you get
And
no
their
closure
handlers
when you
note how weird
lose
the
someone
creatures
that's
start
missing
acting.
like that. It's crazy to think. man.
Experienced outdoors people vanishing off
Like
the
at
face
least
of
with
the
death
earth.
you can grieve, right?
Experienced hunters whose guns are found next to all their equipment. The weapons are never fired.
Yeah.
The majority of them are similar age to the missing boys.
It's like they're not defending themselves or anything.
Nobody knows exactly how many have vanished, but it's what's quickly becoming known as the nation's silent mass disaster.
What in the world?
In the end, I couldn't give Chad's parents any answers,
Right.
and this was an impossible nut to crack. No matter how you look at it, things don't seem to stack up.
No.
Then, when you hear about all of the other similar cases in Missing 411, things start to make even less sense. All around this great country of ours, someone or something is taking our people.
Yeah.
Some
Aliens,
weird
maybe?
shit is going on in the woods, man, and I don't know how to explain it.
Dude. The both unsolved mysteries kind of drives you crazy when you think about it, huh? The thought of somebody that you love just vanishing and not getting no closure is so scary, man. It's crazy. These were some very, very cool stories, though. Very well animated and very well spoken as well. Narrated, I should say. Guys, MJV Animations. Make sure to check him out, as well as a couple other MJV animation videos. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.